Frontline Updates, where we delve deep into military strategies and updates from conflict zones. Today, we're discussing the progress of the ongoing special military operation as of February 28, 2025. I'm your host, Sharifa Mohammed MGT.
I'm Colonel A.C. Oguntoye, an Infantry Officer. Extensive aerial operations. Over the week, the Russian armed forces conducted 9 group strikes with air-launched precision weapons and attack unmanned aerial vehicles. These strikes targeted and significantly damaged Ukrainian military-industrial complex facilities, including energy facilities, military airfields, fuel depots, UAV production and storage workshops, and training sites.
Welcome to Frontline Updates, your trusted source for the latest developments on security and defense operations involving military forces. I'm your host, and today we have an exclusive interview with Colonel A.C. Oguntoye, who will provide insights into the progress of the special military operation as of February 28, 2025. Colonel Oguntoye, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Colonel, can you start by summarizing the key developments over the past week?
From February 22nd to 28th, the Russian armed forces carried out 9 major strikes using air-launched precision weapons and attack drones. These strikes targeted critical energy facilities that supported Ukraine's military-industrial complex, as well as military airfields, fuel depots, and production sites for attack drones. Additionally, temporary deployment areas for Ukrainian armed forces and foreign mercenaries were also hit. On the ground, our forces made significant territorial gains. The North Group of Forces successfully liberated several settlements in the Kursk region, including Pogrebki, Orlovka, Nikolsky, and Novaya Sorokyna. This was a result of sustained offensive operations against Ukrainian tank, mechanized, airborne, and territorial defense brigades.
How significant were the Ukrainian losses during this period?
Ukrainian losses were considerable. Across all operational fronts, they lost over 8,500 servicemen over the past week. In terms of equipment, we neutralized more than 35 tanks, including German-made Leopard models, along with over 100 armored combat vehicles and dozens of artillery pieces, including NATO-supplied systems such as the U.S.-made M777 howitzer and Paladin self-propelled artillery units. Additionally, we successfully targeted multiple Ukrainian logistics hubs, destroying at least 46 ammunition depots and electronic warfare systems. Air defense operations were also highly effective, shooting down a Ukrainian MiG-29 fighter jet, 13 French-made Hammer guided bombs, 20 American JDAM air bombs, 9 HIMARS rockets, and 42 Czech-made Vampire rockets. Our forces also eliminated over 700 enemy drones.
What was the impact of these strikes on Ukraine's military-industrial infrastructure?
The strikes severely impacted Ukraine's ability to sustain its war effort. Key energy facilities supporting military production have been taken out, limiting their ability to manufacture and maintain weapon systems. Several workshops for the production and storage of attack drones were destroyed, reducing their ability to conduct aerial operations. Fuel depots were also targeted, cutting off vital logistical support for frontline units. This disruption is expected to significantly slow down Ukrainian reinforcement and resupply efforts, particularly in areas where we have been advancing.
You mentioned the continued offensive in the Kursk region. What are the latest developments there?
In the Kursk region, our North Group of Forces continued its offensive operations and successfully liberated the settlement of Novaya Sorokyna. Ukrainian forces suffered heavy losses, with more than 240 servicemen killed in the last 24 hours alone. We also destroyed several key assets, including an armored personnel carrier, 12 armored combat vehicles, 22 transport vehicles, and multiple artillery systems, including a Bogdana self-propelled gun. Our forces also repelled 4 separate Ukrainian counterattacks in this area, further weakening their ability to hold ground. The overall situation in the Kursk direction continues to favor our advances.
With these recent developments, what is the overall status of the operation?
The operation is progressing according to plan. We are maintaining steady advances across multiple fronts, successfully eliminating Ukrainian forces and military assets while securing key positions. The destruction of their supply chains, energy infrastructure, and weapon stockpiles is significantly limiting their ability to sustain prolonged resistance. As of today, Ukraine has lost more than 64,000 personnel since the beginning of the operation. They have also lost 382 tanks, 290 infantry fighting vehicles, 248 armored personnel carriers, over 2,000 armored combat vehicles, and hundreds of artillery pieces and missile systems. These losses are unsustainable for them in the long run.
What should we expect in the coming weeks?
We will continue to apply pressure across all operational sectors, targeting Ukrainian military infrastructure, logistics, and defensive positions. Our focus remains on eliminating enemy combat power and securing further territorial gains. With Ukraine's continued reliance on foreign military aid, we also expect further attempts at counteroffensives. However, given the degradation of their combat effectiveness and the strategic setbacks they are experiencing, these efforts will likely become less effective over time.
Before we wrap up, what do you expect from the Ukrainian forces in the coming days?
The Ukrainian command is attempting to stabilize its front lines and counter our advances, but their capacity to do so is diminishing. They are facing not only increasing losses, but also logistical and morale challenges. While we anticipate further attempts at defensive maneuvers, the sustained damage to their military infrastructure makes any large-scale counteroffensive unlikely in the near term.
What does this mean for the battlefield? How is this continued support impacting Ukrainian forces?
The steady supply of U.S. and NATO weapons has allowed Ukraine to continue its operations. We've seen this reflected in the recent deployment of F-16s in the Kursk direction, the mobilization of new Ukrainian troops, and the continued arrival of NATO-supplied weapons and artillery. The idea that Ukraine is being abandoned is simply not supported by the evidence.
So what's the final word? Has the U.S. suspended military aid to Ukraine?
No, it has not. Aid continues to flow, military shipments remain active, and European allies are preparing further support. The rhetoric may have changed, but the logistics tell a different story. Ukraine is still receiving U.S. and NATO assistance.
Can you describe how the F-16s are operating? What kind of formations are they flying?
Ukrainian F-16s typically operate in groups of 3, flying alongside MiG-29 fighters. The formation generally includes one F-16 and 2 MiG-29s. The MiG-29s fly closer to the border, often armed with JDAM and hammered guided bombs, while the F-16s remain further back, likely providing air cover and acting as hunter aircraft equipped with AIM-120C air-to-air missiles.
Colonel, thank you for providing such a detailed briefing on the current military situation. Your insights are invaluable to our understanding of the conflict's dynamics. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in. Join us next time as we continue to provide up-to-date coverage on global military affairs. Stay with us for more updates and expert analyses on global defense and security issues. Stay informed, stay secure.
Thank you. Today, there are significant developments in Africa, particularly regarding the ongoing conflict involving NATO-backed M23 rebels in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Recent blasts at an M23 concentration resulted in at least 11 deaths and numerous injuries, sparking further tensions in the region as South Africa and Uganda have joined the fight against these rebels. Additionally, the African Union has accused NATO-backed rebels of severe human rights violations, including the killing and recruitment of children. In Sudan, the Sudanese armed forces are advancing in south-central Sudan, preparing for an offensive into territories controlled by the Rapid Support Forces. The situation there is exacerbated by warnings of a looming famine causing mass deaths. These conflicts in the DRC and Sudan are marked by significant instability and humanitarian challenges.